All right.
So are we recording?
Seems to be working. La la la. Testing. Meow meow meow. Okay.
Great. That's all staying in. Okay. So here we are. So hello everyone. Welcome back, faithful listeners, to the Public Figures podcast. I am your ever vigilant host, Rob Jabbaz. The other guy, Timo Chijanto, is a big fucking movie star now. He's directing Nobody 2 in Winnipeg, Manitoba, with fucking Bob Odenkirk, Sharon Stone, and recently announced an ancient Christopher Lloyd, who also seems to have joined the cast. So he's just too busy to fucking join us.
I don't blame him.
Yeah, I know, right? Jesus Christ, can you imagine? But to be honest, we had some nice talks. But today we got a guy who's a lot less busy, Mr. Johnny Ryan.
Thank you for acknowledging my lack of work.
Well, I'm not gonna. I know a few things about you, and I know that you're not largely thought of as a guy who's sort of a movie business guy, even though you are kind of like a Glendale kind of entertainment business kind of guy.
Yeah, I'm the Glendale entertainment business guy.
Right, but I do know that you are definitely dipping your toes into the motion picture business, and that's about as much as we'll say at this point. Does that sound fair to you?
Is that what this podcast is about? About toes?
It's about toes. It's about the reason why it's called Public Figures is that the only people that I'm allowed having on the podcast are people who are like, if you Google their name, it'll say like public figure. Because I don't want any fucking scrubs, I don't want just like my friends to be like, can I be on your podcast? I'm like, sorry man, you're just not in the public eye enough, Is
that what, when you look up my name, is that what it says, public figure?
Sometimes it'll say sometimes it'll say cartoonist. Like for example, for me it'll say like filmmaker and animator, but once in a while like it'll say like public figure. So anyhow,
I didn't agree to that.
Yeah, sure. You're a public figure, man. Fuck, just settle into that reality and let the good times roll. Now, here's the thing about me is that I'm you know this about me, that especially when I'm drunk. I'm not drunk now at all, but I fucking stammer like fucking handsy on Stern sometimes.
Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm really trying, and really that's what this whole podcast is all about for me, is just me trying to kind of get a handle on my fucking stammering. And for Timo, it was him to try to practice English. You seem to have both of those things under control, so
for now.
But anyways, what the hell's going on, man? We're gonna treat this almost like just catching up for a little while. What are you doing these days?
Oh, just drawing comics. That's all there is to do.
Yeah. So you got your shit. You got your fucking, was it the 59th Street Maggots?
56th Street Maggots.
My bad. Yeah. Why don't you tell everybody about that?
It's a sort of a Warriors meets Chud kind of mix up. Yeah, that's about it. I just kind of had this idea of like bringing these two ideas together for a while, and I thought, okay, might as well just do it this way. I feel like with the comics I do on Patreon, like everything I'm doing is just ideas for films that nobody will probably ever make. Mm-hmm. Except for one.
Don't tell them. Don't tell them, guys. Don't fucking look into that. Anyways, oh boy, are these people ever gonna? One of these days, people are gonna look back on this podcast when the other fucking shoe drops, and they're gonna be like, oh man, that's what he was talking about. I'm telling you, man. I really do believe that thing is gonna be a big deal when it hits the festival circuit. I was just at Fantasia. I literally just flew in from Canada 2 nights ago. And yeah, man, I went to Fantasia, and like, fuck, dude, like that festival used to be like the best one. There used to be just like all kinds of crazy shit in it, and like, I mean, it's the first time I ever saw like the fucking Ebola syndrome had its international premiere at Fantasia, and like
how long have you been going to Fantasia in Canada?
Well, the thing is that Fantasia's been going on, I think, since '96, and in '90 or maybe '97. But anyways, in '98 they actually were having it like in 2 cities. They had it in Toronto and in Montreal, and showing the same fucking program in both cities. And I was like, at the time in '98, I guess I would have been 17, or 16 actually. But I was just walking down the street and I just saw a program, like a paper program, and I saw that there were just all these movies in it that I'd never heard of, and I was just like, fuck, this is kind of just like how we talk about sometimes how, like, when you're a kid and like at that time and you're looking for fucked up stuff, boy oh boy did I ever find some fucked up stuff, so I'm looking at the Ebola syndrome and reading the synopsis of it, and I'm like, that sounds like something I want to see. And then I also see check it out, there's going to be a 35 millimeter remaster of Street Trash, and not Jim Moreau, but Roy Frumks is going to be there hosting it. And Frumkes, yeah. I'd never seen that film. I'd only heard about it. So I went to go see those 2 movies, and I was just like, holy fuck, dude. Like, completely blown away. Maybe even like, part of the reason why I even decided to get into sort of filmmaking, or at least storytelling, like to some degree. Maybe that's what this particular episode is going to be focused more on, is just like storytelling, because I didn't even think, the prospect of making a film always seemed so out of reach for me. So it was kind of like, okay, well, maybe I'll figure out a way to do it. And it wasn't until my 20s when I was like, maybe I can do this with animation. And I started trying to just get good at that. But anyways, just sitting in a theater, watching the Ebola syndrome, and actually feeling in danger in a theater in a very real way, just because I was afraid of what they were about to show me, was like a big deal. And now, just back to the main point, going to Fantasia and not really being blown away by most of the films. I didn't see a whole lot of them, but like the only one that I really liked, and that I've already mentioned to you, is the Hollywood 90028 movie that you saw.
Oh yeah, that looks good.
Yeah, it is good. It's fucking sick. And that, that's a movie.
I tried to find it around, but it's nowhere to be found.
It'll come out
here
soon. Grindhouse Releasing is. I mean, okay. Well, actually, here's a tip. In England, it was released as Twisted Throat, which is such a sick title. But I mean, Hollywood 90028 is the worst title that you could possibly think of. It's like trying to remember.
Especially after Beverly Hills 90210, it kind of just feels like, oh, must be a prequel.
Right. Honestly, I didn't even think about that. I was just kind of thinking.
I think about it all day.
Exactly. You're just thinking about those hot young hunks.
Yeah.
But no, I was
Ian
thinking
Ziering.
just like, Ian Ziering. Fucking what's the name of that motherfucker who married Megan Fox?
Jason Priestley.
Brian Austin Green.
Hussein.
Yeah. The fuck. Let me. What am I
Brian
talking about?
Austin and Green.
Brian Austin. Yeah, Brian Austin and Green. My those are my
attorneys.
Law firm. Yeah, my attorneys. Motherfucking. It's just like any fucking movie that has like a multi-digit number in the title is just a bad idea. I mean, like what are you even thinking? That's asking a lot of an audience to remember.
976 Evil.
Right, that's fine because 976 numbers, right? Like everyone. Well, I guess nobody would know what that means these days.
Or what's the one? What was it, like one? Transylvania 9000, or what was that one with Jeff Goldblum?
Case in point. So you don't even know what the hell you're talking about. What's that thing with the number? Yeah, exactly. Right?
Everybody knows what I'm talking about.
Right,
that's all that matters.
Everyone out there. Fucking 2000.
If Hansy's listening, he'll know.
Hansy is probably in a fucking hospice right now. I actually speaking of that, there's this guy that emailed me who's like basically like months away from dying, and he's just he just got my email, and he's dying from being fat. He's dying from like being like 600 pounds or something, and I'm just like, and he writes me these emails, just like long ass fucking emails, and just about like kind of stuff that he's been watching, and then also about his health situation.
Here's my grocery list. I just want to send it to the director of the sadness.
Yeah. Actually, he has done that too. He said he told me there's a, you know what Tim Hortons is, right, in Canada? It's like a donut shop. So he's like, I probably would be doing better except for a Tim Hortons that's at the ground level of the hospital. Like, I mean, I don't really do much, but like I managed to get on my walker and fucking shuffle down there and just buy like a box of donuts. He just sits in his bed just eating donuts, and then I guess watching TV, and I guess occasionally writing me an email. And I was just
the nurses don't take his donuts away. Like
Nobody gives a shit, or he's
nobody
figured out the
cares.
system. Yeah, nobody gives a fuck. Everyone's like, oh yeah, what?
Whatever.
He's gonna turn it around and walk out of here. You know, the guy's only like, the guy's not much older than you either. I think he's like maybe like in his early 50s too. But he fucked up his whole shit.
Damn.
He's like, hey, is there any place? And he's also not very good with computers. And he's like, hey, is there any place online I can buy a copy of your comic Black Urn? And I'm like, hey man, just give me your address. I'll fucking send you one. You don't have to pay for it. But then I thought to myself, what else is he going to use his money on? I should have just made him pay for it. I mean, it's not fuck, stupid me. But I already
fat people's money's just as good as skinny people's money.
Sure, and or the money of the soon to be dead. By the way, if you're listening to this, sir, it's all in good fun. You're going to a better place, I'm sure.
He's already planning a hit. Take you out.
Oh, wouldn't it be cool? I'd be cool if he left me like some sort of inheritance, but I think that the guy's broke. He sent me the address of the hospital he's staying at. I know the hospital, and it's just like, fuck. If he's staying there, that's trouble.
They should do a remake of Patrick, but with like a morbidly obese Patrick who just stuck in bed. He's not like catatonic, but he's just like he can't move because he's just a big fat slob. And just
maybe he's not even maybe he's not even psychic. Maybe it's just about a big fat guy who's just in bed.
And he just he just causes things to happen from his bed. I don't know.
Yeah, just I don't know by complaining or just like just like shuffle. Doing what this guy does. Like
it's Patrick meets the whale.
Patrick meets the whale. You didn't like the whale, did you?
I did not.
Yeah, and you didn't like it just because you detest fat people.
Well, that's part of it. Racist against fat people. And no, it felt stagey. It felt like I was watching a play or like a weird sitcom that like people are, constantly like knocking on the door.
Right.
Oh, who's that? Who's that at the door? Oh, it's the Jehovah's Witness. Now who is it? It's my daughter. And then the applause. Like it was just missing the applause every time somebody walked into the house.
Are there any movies that are stagey that you like that have been made in the last let's say 40 years? So like 84 onward, I guess.
Stagey.
Like they feel like plays. Do you need help? I can name out some.
Oh yeah, let's hear some.
Bug, William Friedkin's Bug.
Oh, I never watched that one. Is it
really?
Good?
Yeah, it's good. It's
okay.
It's based on a play, but it's
on my list.
Yeah, check her out. It's pretty good. I actually would argue even that The Fly is sort of stagey. There's never really a moment in The Fly where there's more than like 4 people on the screen. Like it's always. I really have always thought that myself.
But at least with in The Whale, like you feel like it's in that other movie Bergman with Michael Keaton. Like there comes a point like maybe 15 or 20 minutes into the film, you're like, we're never leaving this set. Like we're always going to be stuck in this set. And then that immediately like, oh no, I'm watching a play. And then like once that dawns on you, you're just sort of like, oh, this is going to be a real grind. Well,
I don't know, man. I mean, like sometimes it's not. Sometimes that doesn't bug me so much. I guess maybe watch Bug and see if that fucking.
Well, I mean, like if I have seen films. I mean, a good example. Like I never really thought of it as like a play because it isn't a play, but Ingmar Bergman's Scenes from a Marriage, which is just like 5 hours of a couple talking and arguing, and it's it's just incredible. Like it's just sort of like wow, a human being wrote this. That's pretty impressive. Just
Wow.
like it's like if you want to learn how to write dialogue, just sort of like, okay, I want to make a movie. I have like $100, so I'm just gonna take my camera and put two people in a room and film. So like you're totally beholden to a script that you write. This movie is like, here's a guy, he just put two people in a room and he just wrote something brilliant. Just like incredible writing. It's great.
I mean, if he's so brilliant, why do you have to make it 5 hours long?
It's worth it.
All right, fair enough.
Like-
I've only seen two Ingmar Bergman movies. One of them is is it The Seventh Seal, the one with the death on the playing chess on the beach? Is that what that's called?
It's called Bill and Ted's Bogus Adventure.
Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. So I've seen that one.
Okay.
And then I also saw the one that Last House on the Left is based on, A Virgin Spring, I believe.
Virgin Spring. That's a good one too.
That's a fantastic film. Actually, I think you recommended that I watch that, and I took your advice, and I was like, "Fuck."
I think like
right.
his films are like deceptively, like people think like, oh, it's like black and white, boring, Swedish. It's like going to school, eating your vegetables, but it's like he can get dark and he can get weird. So it's
There's nothing wrong. I mean, I had no doubt that he could get that dark and weird. It's mostly just an issue of like, I mean, listen, man. You ask someone to sit down and watch 5 hours of anything.
I don't think I sat and watched all 5 hours at once. I think it's actually like, I think it was broadcast on like Swedish TV. So each episode is like an hour. So it's almost like watching 5 hours of Chips. So
sure, like V, like watching V.
Yeah, it's like watching V. Exactly.
Yeah. It's the Swedish version of V.
It kind of is.
What was I going to say about something? Oh yeah, I was talking very briefly. Last time I talked with Timo, one of the things that we kind of both agreed on was that like, just to your point of like, oh yeah, Swedish fucking art house, eating your vegetables, the shit that like you don't want to watch but you have to watch if you like whatever cinema, blah blah blah.
Right.
People sometimes, I run into that sometimes when I try to get people to watch Michael Haneke movies. And it's like, the thing about like, there's another one that actually is very stagey is Amor. Did you ever see that one?
I haven't seen Amor, but yeah. I like most of his films. Piano Teacher's fucking masterpiece.
Yeah, no, I went through a period recently where I was watching that like once a week, just like for maybe like about 2 months. And I was just like, because I kept wanting to show it to people, like when they'd come by, I'd be like, "You got to fucking see this thing." But I was really just doing it as a way to kind of like re-watch it and kind of, I guess, like analyze it or figure out, because it's so. And here's another thing too that we've talked about before. Not me and you, but me and Timo have talked about before. Is how like a lot of filmmaking, really what it is like the facade of effortlessness. There are some people who you kind of feel can do things and it just comes out like effortless, like kind of like these sort of, you hear these stories of like Jay-Z going into the recording studio and just listening to a beat and just being like, all right, I got it, and then he just like makes a whole album, like, and it's like, oh wow, this guy's a savant. And I'm like, I don't know how much I believe those kinds of stories. I feel like this is just sort of like a smoke and mirrors kind of thing, but a lot of it is just kind of like you're planning things and you're spending all this time trying to make this facade of effortlessness, but really it's just like there's so much effort and so much sweat and so much like fear and insecurity behind it all. But then at the end, like you kind of present it kind of just like, yeah, it wasn't a big deal. But that's how I feel. I don't know. Maybe I actually very much doubt that Haneke is any different. Like he probably sweats and fucking bites his nails and pulls his hair out over everything he does, and then when it comes out, it just seems like awesome. But anyways, all this to say, the reason why I bring it up is because what strikes me about his films the most, after watching a lot of them, is how like snappily they're paced. Like it's like they don't because that's what you're afraid of, like, oh man, this thing's gonna drag. I'm gonna sit here being bored. But like the way that he just introduces plot elements just at the right time, just to keep you invested, and how and sort of the twists and the rug pulls and all the stuff that he does, and he's introducing something, you're like, what the fuck, like that was there the whole time, like you're that's really what I like the most about him, is that he's absolutely like, what's the word, like he's very like audience like audience sensitive. Like he's making stuff that an audience that the audience doesn't have to really like extend their hand too far out. Like he's very generous to the audience, I guess, in that sense, and that's what I really like about him, and that's I guess to some degree the kind of filmmaker I'd like to be. I don't think I'll ever reach even like a quarter of the filmmaker he is, but at least I can try to be someone who makes stuff that people won't get bored of and stay engaged with, and don't have to fucking aren't pulling out their phones or checking their watches,
But I think he started kind of late, didn't he? Didn't he become like a filmmaker sort of in his 40s or something, or 50s?
Yeah, he did. He did the Seventh Continent, I believe, when he was like in his early 40s. Yeah, and by the way, that is a film that maybe is entirely in opposition to what I just said. That's the one where that one is entirely audience hostile, where it's just pulling you have to stick with that film if you want to get anything out of it. It doesn't. It's not.
I don't think I've ever seen that one.
Oh, it's good. There's this fuck. There's this one part that I wanted to talk about. It's too bad you haven't seen it. Do you mind if I spoil one part for you?
Okay.
No. Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, whatever. We'll do it for the love of the game. There's a part where this little girl pretends she goes to school, and for whatever reason, I won't tell you why, but like maybe it's not even really disclosed in the film directly, but for some reason this little girl pretends that she's blind to a substitute teacher. I think that's what it is, or she does something like that. She pretends she's deaf, or she does something where she plays some sort of weird trick on the teacher, and then later she's at home. And the mother is like, hey, what did you do at school today? They said that you were pretending you were blind. Like, is that true? And she's like, no, it's not true at all. And she's like, look, please tell me the truth. Like, I want to know what happened. Like, because like if there's something you want to talk about, we can talk about it together, and like, and whatever, and like, all this stuff. And she's like, Mom, no, like, I really didn't pretend I was blind. And she's like, look, I promise you won't get in trouble if you tell me. And then finally she's like, okay, yeah, I did pretend I was blind. And then the mother slaps her across the face. And then that's the end of the scene. And I was just like, that's so fucking cool. That guy's so cool.
It's almost like a comedy.
Yeah.
Like a comedy scene that you'd see in like a Three Stooges.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like, well, I guess the way it's set up, it's like, it's sort of shock. It's because it's such a betrayal, right? That's the sort of the shocking thing about it, is that like you as the audience are sitting there, and you're like, oh damn, like look at this compassionate mother, like trying to talk with her kid, and it's sort of this. It's framed as this very like sort of intimate, sort of domestic situation, and then all of a sudden it's just like full 100% betrayal. Like she just lied to her kid and also assaults her. Like it's so funny. I mean, it's funny for me, for guys like you and me. But
that's called drama.
That's what I call drama. Yeah. So just the one comic, or I mean, have you been working on anything else other than the Patreon stuff?
Well, I'm working on a comic with Fantagraphics too, so I'm like simultaneously doing 2 comics at once.
How many pages are you doing a day? Like 2 or 3?
2 on a good day.
Nice. So one for the Patreon, and one for whatever else you happen to be doing.
Yeah, and then also like whatever freelance gigs I get.
Like Vinegar Syndrome or whatever the fuck. Like
yeah, Vinegar Syndrome.
Yeah, I mean, do you remember that time we had that interview or that little talk with Vinegar Syndrome?
Sure.
Jesus Christ, that I was probably one of the worst ones I think I've ever had with anybody, just because like
They seem oddly disinterested.
Well, it's just like I think it's just like, you know, I just got led to believe that, you know, we had a little more to hope for than we did, you know, and yeah, I don't know, fuck. Anyways, well, it doesn't matter, you know. Pretty soon, I gotta tell you something. I'm not gonna tell you now, and I'm probably not gonna tell you even after we turn off the microphone, because I don't want to jinx it. But I will tell you as soon as I lock this thing down. But man, pretty soon I think I might have something pretty cool going on with something. And yeah, and I know that, you know, we've been talking about that thing we've been trying to do together for a while, and I think that this thing is going to be, it's going to have to happen in order to give me the juice that I need to make the next thing happen. You know, I talked to this at Fantasia. Okay, so at Fantasia, there's all these fucking just sales agents and fucking distributors, and just it's just a fucking snake pit of diarrhea. You know, just all these fucking assholes, just predatory, trying to find like that young kind of, you know, like 27-year-old like filmmaker who just has a short that shows promise, and they're in there trying to promise him the world and everything in it, kind of shit. And I'm going around, I'm just like, just seeing it happen, and just seeing all these fucking people, all these silver-tongued devils doing their thing. I'm just like, damn, look at this shit, you know. And basically, what's your job? You know, your job is to go, you know, like take the film that they've made, and then turn it around, and then sell it, and then sell worldwide rights to like Prime or to Roku or whatever, you know. Like your job, basically your job is to be a professional middleman, you know. Like, and anybody out there who's listening, who's like a filmmaker, like avoid sales agents, avoid distributors. You don't need them. All they do is take 20%. That's their job. And that's my word. Fuck them all. They all suck. I've never met a cool one. I've never met one that wasn't a liar. That being said, I met the people who do the Terrifier movies, and that is a situation where that's a situation that's completely different, because, you know, those guys turned like $250,000 into like $13 million. Right. And at that point, you know, the money is real. All of a sudden, you know how much the budget is for the new Terrifier movie?
The same?
No. If the last one, you know, they said it was $250,000, but like, it was also like filmed over the course of like, you know, 2 or 3 years or something. So like, what does that actually mean? You know, like just to survive and just to keep people kind of on board. There's all these other like the time is money, man. You know what I'm saying? And like,
sure,
maybe $250,000 like on paper, but honestly, like just to keep a production kind of feasible for that long, you're going to need money coming in from elsewhere. But whatever, on paper, people are saying $250,000. We'll take that as it is. But the Terrifier 3, the one that's coming out, I guess, in October. Take a guess at how much. You already said. You said the same, so $250,000.
Yeah, I feel like they don't want to ruin the magic. Like, clearly they're able to achieve magic with $250,000.
$4 million is what they got.
See, I think having all this money, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt the creativity.
I don't think so. I think that with guys like that, well, you know, I think it's probably going to be like, this is going to be the one that maybe where the seams start to show, and we start to see sort of just like, oh, you know, maybe there isn't like, you know, we see the iceberg above the water, but maybe it's just kind of like floating on a little raft. There's not actually anything beneath the iceberg, kind of thing. Right. But we'll see. I mean, I hope the best. I think that guy, what's his name? I forget his name, but I think that
Damien.
Yeah, I think it's Damien something. But anyways, Damien, I do think that he's got the good spirit, you know, and he's like he's trying to do some shit that's like fucked up. He also is smart enough to realize that the fucking the line in the sand is sexual violence. You just can't have Art the Clown knife raping anybody, but everything else pretty much goes.
Well, it's because there is violence that is somewhat like where he like doesn't he like castrate some dude?
Yeah, but that doesn't matter. Like
but
cutting
it's
off
not
a dick is fine.
It's not. Yeah, cutting off a dick is fine. If but I mean, like there's still like a sexual aspect to that, but it's not. You don't get the sense that the clown is horny. Like he's not a sexual predator, but he is. He knows what hurts.
Yeah. No, that's basically it. Like, you can do whatever the hell you want, but you better well not come. Isn't that a funny thing? Like, like I've often thought about that. Just obviously because like I made the sadness and everything, and I often try to sort of figure out like why precisely. I mean, obviously it has to do with an element of humiliation, like like why rape or sexual violence is often regarded as worse than murder or just regular violence, or like non-sexual violence. And the conclusion that I can come to is that it has to do with just sort of an element of like humiliation, or the fact that someone else is sort of like taking pleasure in your displeasure. Like, is that what it is? Like, I'm not really. It's hard to sort of really put my finger on. Just sort of from a very what's the word? Like a very like knee jerk kind of, like you're not thinking about it too much kind of perspective. It does seem worse, but it's like if when you think about it, what exactly is it? And I guess I'm talking. Let's keep the conversation like as it appears in cinema. Obviously, like in real life, that conversation becomes way too loaded, and I'm not really interested in it. But like in terms of just like movies that we've seen, and sort of things that like, I mean, you still hear people talking this and that about a Serbian film and how that's the one that's the a bridge too far kind of thing. And I actually even overheard. I almost got into it with some fucking Estonian dude who was talking about how let's like a Serbian film, fuck that shit. It's like, and he was just talking about how like it didn't have any kind of value and all this shit. I'm like, dude, I don't know. Like he had a T-shirt on that said like, I think it was for his movie. It was called like Chainsaw Singing or some. I forget what the fuck it was. I think it's supposed to be some kind of like horror comedy thing that him and his friends had come to show at Fantasia, and he's going off about how he doesn't like the Serbian film, and I'm just like that. I don't know what your film is. I have no idea what it is, but I know that it's better. I know that it's not better than a Serbian film. Like I know that you guys have not made anything of any value, especially especially nothing that's better than a Serbian film. Like I think that film has a lot of value, and still I still recommend it to people,
Sure.
Who have a little bit of a spicier taste, and I don't recommend it because it's like, this is the most extreme thing ever. I'm just like, this is something that's like, like really, really carefully considered, and it might be kind of the thing that you want to watch if you feel like you're kind of sick of all the other shit and you want to see something a little more. But
I mean, it's also like it is because there is, there's movies that have like extreme, crazy shit in them, but there's not necessarily any like real substance to it. And when that happens, that feels like it's kind of a failure, or it just feels like, oh, this person is just, they're just throwing blood or whatever at the screen, and they want me to react to it. But with the Serbian film, it's grounded in like this real story. Like you're following this you know, washed up porn star, like through this completely bizarre, crazy, horrible, surreal situation. And he's got a family, and he's got like a creepy brother-in-law or something, or brother, I can't remember now. But like the whole dynamic is just like really chilling, and I think it works because you kind of give a shit about these people and what they're going through.
Sure, absolutely. I remember when I talked to the writer, Alexander, Radiojevic or whatever his last name is. Nice guy, by the way. He fucking was telling me that aside from all the political shit that people have confused and misunderstood for years since its release, you can, if anybody's interested in finding out why they made the Serbian film, you can just like look at it on Wikipedia. It's all there in black and white. It's very easy to understand. But one of the things that I think that was interesting that they chose as a stylistic motif was these videos that Rocco Siffredi used to make, where he would go to like Romania and just like find like girls in Romania and just like make like really rough porns with them. So it's kind of like this idea of like the rape of the third world, like so this Italian guy just taking a trip to like sort of the Balkans or to Eastern Europe, and then just like getting some poor girl to sign like a contract for like $800 or something, and then just like fucking the bejesus out of her, and then just selling that and making millions. Like, so just that, like kind of taking that as sort of the let's say like delivery system for this story, that I believe is also a reason why it feels so chilling, because it feels like what the fuck is going on over there, like maybe for a Western audience. Anyhow,
but I mean that's sort of like when you think about the horror films that were going on in like the late 60s and 70s and somewhat into the 80s, like dealing with very difficult subject matter, Vietnam, and seeing those horrors every day, and all the crazy shit that was going on, rioting and civil rights shit, and it was all sort of like coming out in these like crazy horror movies. And at the time, like it felt like, oh, these movies are kind of dangerous. Like there was a dangerous aspect to what was going on. I mean, we look back on it now with fondness, and we're like, oh, isn't that, Texas Chainsaw Massacre? What a wonderful film. Yeah. At the time, it wasn't wonderful. It was like, oh my God, like what the fuck is this? Like this is not okay. It's awful. Yeah. And so, time has passed, and now those films are sort of like accepted as kind of like, oh, this is, horror. These are horror classics. So, what are we doing today to push the envelope? And, you use that word edgelord. I usually hate that word because it kind of like, it's like this word that is like this go-to term for anybody who's trying to do anything transgressive.
It shuts you down, but I do think it's still worth using because, like, for example, what's his name? Mike Fogel is his name, the guy who does like August Underground, those movies.
I don't think I've ever seen an August Underground movie, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, personally, like I think those are kind of like those seem to be striking a chord with some people, maybe just because it's. Maybe just because it's so kind of like unflinching, like it doesn't ever look away, and they're very cheap movies, and it's basically just like about as pure torture porn as one can see, other than seeing like a real snuff film. But I don't know. There's just sort of like a lack of artfulness to it that I find to be like, even like something like the Guinea Pig 2, Flower of Flesh and Blood, I feel like has like more artfulness than these movies.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that one has like a woman dressed as a mermaid in a bathtub. So
well, no, that's Mermaid in a Manhole, right? That's the fourth one.
I thought that was the second one.
No, Flower of Flesh and Flower of Flesh and Blood is the one where it's just a woman. That's the one that Charlie Sheen like thought was real, and he tried to like send the fucking FBI like or whatever. Like he tried to like prosecute these guys. He tried to like spearhead sort of this thing of like, we need to find these goddamn Japs and we need to fucking take them down, you know. I really do believe that it was. I know maybe it's not part 2. I think it's part 2, but it's definitely Flower of Flesh and Blood. But then the one actually, incidentally, a big influence for my comic Black Urn was Mermaid in a Manhole. Just some weird fucking thing just happening in someone's house. But you know, just back to the point, the August Underground films, like I would use the term edgelord for that because I don't see any purpose for these films other than just just trying to gross people out by showing them the most horrible shit that there is. But having said that, I've started to think that stuff like that is becoming increasingly more valuable as we get into sort of this age of AI, because I've told you a lot how, like, you know, I try to use Midjourney. I'll be like, a woman being forcibly held down on a bed with like dramatic lighting, horror vibe, high resolution, high detail, go. And then it's like, you know, all of a sudden I get this like response, and it's like, you can't, if you do this again, you're gonna
get a knock on your door.
yeah. If you do this again, we're not gonna let you use this program. And it's like, I fucking pay for this program, and you're gonna boot me off just for having a clothed woman being forcibly held down on a bed. I'm trying to. What
if she's being held down by like gremlins or something, like some non-human entity? Is that allowed?
Well, you know, like we'll take a little look under the hood and see if we can't push the limits of Midjourney. But even in ChatGPT, sometimes I use ChatGPT sometimes to brainstorm. Like sometimes, like if I have in a story like some kind of like weird drug, I'll like explain what the drug like does, and then I'll be like, give me like 50 sort of names, that prospective names for like the retail name for a drug like this or something. So it'll give me like all these names. So it is actually useful. But sometimes I'll type in shit and they'll be like, oh, you know what? You actually shouldn't use drugs, and addiction is a bad thing. And and I'm just like, can you just fucking help me write my story? Like, I've already stated that this is for a story. Anyway, all this to say, like,
it's like writing a story with your mother.
Yeah, exactly. It's like trying to work with your fucking mother sitting right there and scolding you, and then you have like YouTube terms of service, and it's like these terms of service are almost dictating like art across the board, you know, and it's all entirely for like geared towards kids. Like YouTube is, you know, by no exaggeration is fueled by children, right? So it's like it has to all be for kids, and I also feel like as you know, as sort of the sort of the generations move forward, more like millennials are having kids, and they want to just be plopping them in front of the TV, and they don't want to have to worry about their kids seeing like some weird ass shit. So it's like everything's just getting rounded off at the corners so much, and you're not seeing like extreme stuff anymore. So you know, fucking seeing or just having like extreme or just like this. I mean, I'm wearing a fucking vulvectomy shirt right now with a fucking woman's pussy like right there on the
Jesus
front of it.
Christ, dude.
Yeah, can you believe
Surprised
it?
they don't fucking arrest you in where you live in China?
Yeah. No, I have to wear this only at home. I can't wear this to
You
costume.
can only wear it in the house.
I can only wear it in the closet, but in the walk-in closet. But the point is just that, like, you know, this kind of music, like extreme metal, the like like the slam and the gore grind and stuff, and like the stuff that has just like like gory like autopsy photos for like album covers and stuff. Like more and more, I'm just kind of like yes, more of this. Like this is the stuff that is like actually in a sense the most human at this point. It's almost like it's all we have left as human beings is just this disgusting, depraved shit that actually doesn't have any. Maybe doesn't even have any kind of like artistic merit at all. But I'd rather take it than.
Well, that's what's sort of interesting about, at least that used to be what was interesting about comics, and back in the 70s with like the whole grindhouse scene of films. It's just like this was garbage culture made for guys in trench coats and degenerate nerds. Like this isn't for wide the wider culture, the wider
right.
population. So these little petri dishes of culture are able to spring up in these areas, and now because of the internet and everything is just clumped together and on the internet, and there's really no more underground, there's no more this group over here is working on this. Like everything is thrown into the pot, and everybody either gives it the thumbs up or the thumbs down. It's hard to create a scene of anything anymore, and then like the internet just kind of puts a cop in people's heads, so because they want to please the giant internet entity, so everything has to be for the wider culture, so everything has to be PG or G.
What's interesting is that like you're saying like the supposition you're making, or the presupposition you're making, that like the internet, how the internet is, it just clumps everything all together. It's like, no, it doesn't. Like when the internet first came out, that was the whole thing, is that like anybody anywhere could put their shit online, and it actually, like, sort of, if you think about it, like in the early days of the internet, that's what it did. It was like you have like even more sort of emergence of subcultures and little scenes, and like, oh, I'm into fucking weird shit, and I live in fucking Serbia, or let's just whatever, for the sake of a country, and then another guy is like, oh, I like that shit too, and I live in fucking Seattle, and then you can have little sort of like groups of people who otherwise would never have known about each other sharing their love of I don't know, fucking horses porn or whatever the fuck they're into, right?
But I think you're talking about like the very beginning of the internet, where it's still going off the fumes of pre-internet, which is people, sending out zines and mailing each other black metal cassette tapes, and there was still that kind of like early like, oh, like I can actually like email my friend in Sweden now and we can talk about black metal together. But stuff like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, they've consolidated all this stuff into one. So like if you want to be an artist and get your stuff out there, sure, you can, put it on your own website, or, put it on some other like, rinky-dink social media platform, but you're not going to get as many people looking at it unless you put it on Instagram or Twitter.
What we're talking about is like Web 1 versus Web 2. Web 2 is like social media, like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. But the only like Web 2 thing that kind of, I think still had sort of the spirit of like, I guess, of what we miss or what we're talking about is like Tumblr. Do you remember Tumblr?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Of course I do.
Like Tumblr was maybe the healthiest one. And then Facebook.
That was like after I got initially kicked off of Instagram for a year. I wasn't able to get back on Instagram for a year, so I went over to Tumblr, and man, it sucked.
Yeah, well,
it was not Instagram.
It's not for everybody, and you're right. If you're getting into Tumblr post Instagram, I feel bad for you, son. But when Tumblr, it was like Tumblr came out definitely before Instagram, after Facebook, definitely after Twitter, but I think that was maybe the turning point. And I think sort of like the death of Tumblr and the death of sort of the idea of like the like the personal blog, because you could put porn on Tumblr. It was absolutely not.
That's all Tumblr was. It was just porn gifs.
Yeah, I know, and I mean, that was great. Now, I mean, I guess you can still put porn on Twitter though, right? Like you can still have porn on Twitter. I think
so.
Yeah, but
I'm not on Twitter, but I think so.
Yeah, for some reason it's just not. Nobody gives a shit anymore, and it's just like the same thing I was saying before about like YouTube, or not YouTube, but like Netflix or Prime or whatever. Like these big fucking streaming services are not interested in having the best content necessarily. All they're interested in is just having the most robust user bases, and they'll try to do that by any means necessary, and if that means just making parents feel safer. What's the problem? You need to see fucking sex on Netflix. What are you, some kind of pervert? Watch, and there's that delineation happening too. Like you don't see sex scenes in movies that often. You don't see like provocative stuff in films. Like there's the delineation of like, if you want to watch sex, watch porn. There's plenty of it, and it's dirtier and nastier than it's ever been. And
right.
then we'll, we just gonna keep everything kind of clean over here. Violence is still okay, I guess, including
to a point.
Right. So,
but I mean, it's sort of like, well, there still feels like there's this lacking of, again, I keep sort of going back to those wonderful films of the 70s where it's sort of like you're watching like a real story with real characters, their lives are unfolding, and somebody gets naked, somebody's having sex, and it's part of the story.
Yeah.
And it actually feels like you're watched like this. It actually makes the movie feel like this is legit. Like this is like, these are
right.
real people.
Yeah.
And when you see these movies now where like they're completely avoiding any kind of sex, it just you like, as a human being, you just sort of like sense it. Like you just like, why aren't these people having sex?
Well, there's plenty of lesbian sex.
Well, yeah, there's plenty of like gay and lesbian stuff and transsexual stuff.
Yeah.
But it's sort of like, I feel like heterosexual sex has become so politicized that it's like, can't have it anymore. You
can't have sex anymore, man. Sex is off the fucking off the buffet menu.
And then even, I mean, I can't think of any in general, but like whenever there is some kind of movie that, like, oh, this movie has some sex in it, it feels like, just feels weak.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just trying to think. I watched Basic Instinct on the plane, and I was kind of like, oh yeah, that I remember that. It didn't seem. I remember when I saw that the first time when I was like a little kid, and my aunt had satellite at her house, and I just like, it came on one time at the, just in the basement, and I was just there, and it blew my, like, I mean, what was it, Basic Instinct 1992 or 1991? I mean, I was probably like 10-ish when I saw that movie, and it fucking like I thought that was just the most fucking, like, the most erotic fucking just a sexually exciting thing I'd ever seen. That opening scene in my entire life, I was just like holy shit, and it was like the boner that was like trying to emerge was trying to happen so quickly that it just must have just destroyed a bunch of blood vessels, because like it just made my dick fucking ache or whatever,
You passed out.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, so yeah, fuck that was wild. I'll never forget that. And then it ends with her turning around and fucking stabbing that guy, and it's this gory, like Rob Bottin, like gore thing where the ice pick goes through his eyeball. So like that was really scarring. And then it's like, hey Rob, dinner. I come upstairs, I'm just all like, oh, like I'm all fucking, completely unable. Like they're trying to talk with me, I don't even know how to fucking respond, because that's
the formula for great drama: sex and death. Put those two together, you have a great film. That's all you need.
So what's going on? What's going on? I mean, so you got the comic going on. you got the comics going on. Can you tell us anything about the Fantagraphics comic at all?
Sure. It's called The Repugnant Homunculus, and it's about a guy that he is getting a bunch of money, but if he has to take care of this thing, hence the title. So
he has to take care of a homunculus?
A repugnant homunculus.
Okay.
Because if he doesn't, then the money goes away. If he is able to maintain this thing and keep it safe and healthy, then he gets to keep the money. So it's about like that's basically the story.
Okay. So it sounds like kind of like an episode of Frasier or something.
Yeah, it has like a little bit of a sitcom vibe, I guess, but with a little what was that torture edgelord guy?
Oh, fucking August Underground.
Yeah, a little August Underground thrown in for fun.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good to me, man.
A little guinea pig, flower of flesh and blood.
Yeah. I actually that's another thing. When I was in Canada, I made sure to I for some reason always lose Charles Burns's Black Hole. Like I've already bought that book like 4 times. So like I've lost it, and I've also given it away one time, but I finally got that book back. I'm happy that it's here on my coffee table, right next to a couple of yours and a couple.
Did you ever read it?
What Black? Which one? Yours?
Did you ever read any of them?
Sure, I do,
on
man.
your coffee table.
Shut up! I read every single. I mean, I read them and I display them so that I can get my friends to read them. What the hell kind of thing is that to say?
Humble bragging about your reading.
No. I'm just humble bragging about the. I mean, humble bragging about reading my comic books. Give me a goddamn break.
That's so cool.
Have you seen? I forget if I asked you this already or if you've seen it in the interim since the last time I asked you was. Have you seen the Marfa Girl movies?
Marfa Girl?
Yeah, Marfa Girl. Like it's like the Larry Clark movies that were made. Like I'm thinking maybe like 2015 and 2018 respectively.
I think you asked me about that. No, I don't think I've seen those.
Okay, you should check them out. I think that they're not as good as like the big 3, like Bully, Ken Park, and Kids, but they're worth watching. I really do think. I think that Larry Clark is a lot like is still entirely uncompromised in what he's doing in those movies, and it's just nice to see him. It's nice to see him. Like how sad would it be if you put that movie on and it's just like, it's just like a fucking.
August Underground.
No. The opposite. Like it's like a 90-minute episode of like Grey's Anatomy or something. Just some tepid shit that sucks. But it's fully.
How cool would that be if Larry Clark directed an episode of Grey's Anatomy?
That would be pretty cool. All the girls would have to fucking drop their drawers.
The guys too.
The guys too. That's right. When's the last time you saw Ken Park?
It's been a few years.
Yeah, I think that I didn't appreciate that movie the first time I saw it. I've only seen it one time before, and then I saw it again recently, and I was like, oh, this is actually really awesome. And that part where fucking that guy jerks off in his room while choking himself and watching like a tennis match on TV is like. It's truly shocking. Like it's truly, it's actually like, and it makes me think as sort of like a filmmaker, like I don't know how the hell I would get some, like how I mean, I guess at the end of the day, like, you're approaching someone and you're saying, okay, well, we need you to do this. And they have to be saying yes right from the get-go. It's not like you spring it on them like halfway through, which would be hilarious. But I mean, that guy, he was in that movie that you... Go on.
Is that the kid that was in the second season of The Wire?
Yeah, the guy who goes to jail with the big dick and he pulls out his dick in the bar.
Yeah.
James Ransone, I think his name is. But in any case, he's in The Wire there. He was in that movie that we hated called The Black Phone.
Was he? What was he in that?
He was like the brother. I think he was the brother in The House, like the Ethan Hawke's brother.
Oh yeah.
Hey, let me see for a second here. Yeah, I mean, we got a little more time. Why don't we talk a little bit about a film that I've been wanting to talk to for the longest time, but I'm literally the only one who's seen it except for you, which is Michael, starring John Travolta as an angel. Just kidding. The one that was directed by a protege of the esteemed Michael Haneke, about a man who's a pedophile and locks a little boy in his basement.
Right.
And just sort of about that dynamic and that life. I mean, this is a film that I always recommend to people because of how how fucking just tight and kind of elegant the whole thing is, and how well it's directed, and how it's like really, really emotionally engaging, but it's also doesn't feel exploitational. And it's a hard sell. You know, you tell someone what this movie's about, and they're like, I don't want to fucking watch that. But it's like, no, you really should. You know, despite what you think.
I'd love to see you having that conversation of trying to convince somebody to watch Michael who doesn't want to watch Michael.
Yeah, exactly.
I would sort of state the premise, and if the person was sort of like, yeah, that's not for me, I would quit immediately. I'd be like,
I guess so. Yeah, no, you're right. See, this is the difference between me and you. It's like I don't know how to fucking take a hint like that. I'll just keep going. But I mean, how did you come across that? Did you just hear about it, or did you just come across it randomly, or what? I guess it's been a while.
I feel like it was like a combination. Like maybe it was a friend who hit me to it. Maybe I read about it somewhere as well. I think at the time, I was somewhat aware of Michael Haneke, and he produced Michael. I think he had some sort of involvement with Michael.
Well, what I understand is that the director whose name is Marcus Schleinzer, he this guy Marcus Schleinzer was part of the director's unit to some capacity on a grip of Michael Haneke's films. So I don't know that he produced it. He may have produced it, but I think it's more just kind of like.
But yeah, just the premise of it, I thought was intriguing and strange. You didn't, it was unique. You don't often hear about movies with that subject matter. So that stuff, just weird transgressive stuff, always just interested me. So it was easy to convince me to watch it.
Right. Yep. Well, yeah. I mean,
but it's also it takes sort of a difficult subject and it deals with it fairly intelligently. You said, it's not exploitative. It's not for laughs. It's just sort of here is a guy that is seemingly normal. He has a job. He lives in a neighborhood, and guess what? He just seems to have a bunker in his basement where he has a kid that he has some sort of sexual relationship with.
Yeah, and it's not. I mean, obviously, it's not going to be played for laughs, right? It's I mean, but on the other end of it, it's not sort of overly maudlin, just it feels colder than maybe how a similar film would be done, maybe in a similar contemporary film would be done in Hollywood, where they would make sure that the guy has actually no, fuck that, they wouldn't even touch it. I mean, the case in point, The Black Phone. You said it the best when we were talking about the black phone when it first came out. It's kind of like, oh yeah, so Ethan Hawke is going around capturing kids for, I guess, no reason, just to kind of have them, and then
yeah, that's actually a good comparison, because like in Michael, you don't really see him raping the kid,
but you do see him. You see him washing his dick after raping.
Well, you see aftermath stuff. You see him kind of like snuggling up against him and kind of like talking love talk to him, and everything else is just implied. But with the black phone, you don't even know why the kids are there. Like you're sort of, why is he kidnapping these kids?
Yeah, the whole sort of like it just speaks to nothing other than just like just how do you what's the best way to say it? Being a fucking pussy. Like they're so scared of touching that subject at all.
And Michael seemed real. Black Phone seemed, I mean, in spite of its
supernatural elements,
supernatural phone call stuff, which is stupid. Yeah. But it didn't seem real. Like, I don't buy Ethan Hawke is raping any kids. He's too ripped.
Right. Yeah, exactly. He's too sexy.
Nobody's going to be hitting the gym that much at his age just to rape some kids. It doesn't make sense.
Exactly. For sure. And that's the whole reason why you rape kids anyways, is because they're weak. So you don't have to really be all that fucking ripped. But anyways, fuck. I guess that's it, man. Let's fucking call this a fucking wrap. Another successful episode. Too bad Timo couldn't be here. But guess what, Timo? We had a great time despite you not being here.
Probably had more fun than he is.
Yeah, exactly.
Hanging out with celebrities, making all that money. He's probably having a real shitty time.
So he probably is having a good time, but that's not to say that he's not dealing with some stress. Anyways, we love you, fucking my Indonesian pal. I hope you're having a good time. But yeah, so thanks a lot for your time, Johnny. I'm gonna say goodbye to you. Maybe we should do this again sometime. God knows that you're not doing a whole lot.
Yeah, I'm not doing nothing.
All right, well, say goodbye to everybody.
Later.
Bye.